Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live streaming of the Tech Trends 2025. We're here today to talk about wonderful technology trends that we'll see during this year, that we have seen already taking action in the beginning of the year, and that we will see revolutionize how we work with technology today. My name is Emi. I'm here to host this conversation with Caro and Agus. Let me welcome everyone. And Caro, please introduce yourself to everybody.
Hey everyone, I'm Carolina Dolan Chandler, Chief Digital Officer at this crazy company. I've been here for over 18 years already, not always in tech, but always related to tech. Even when I moved to different areas, I still stayed true to tech. And I have to say, this is a very exciting year. It's 2024 kind of set the stage to a lot of the things that we're going to see this year. And there's going to be more evolution throughout this year. I think we have 2-3 more years of extreme exciting things going on.
Yeah.
And if you're following the news, like the past week has been insane.
Crazy.
I'm going to give it to Agus so that he can introduce himself.
Hey everyone, Agustín Huerta here. I've been at the Globant for 15 years, and all those exciting things that Caro mentioned are what take my sleeping hours away, basically. So I have to dedicate a lot of my time into getting into those news. And well, sleep is the first things to get out of the to-do list for a daily basis.
Well, thank you. Thank you both for participating on this wonderful conversation. Thank you, Agus, particularly to jump in. We had Diego Tartara had to drop for personal reasons, and Agus was so willing to come to the conversation, and he is such an expert on the subjects. So thank you very much, Agus. We are going to be covering 5 technology trends and a lot of news that are around those technology trends. And I want to jump right into the first one. The first one that we're going to tackle is quantum computing. And oh my God, we have seen a lot of news lately on the developments of quantum computer from Google, from other companies. And it feels like in the past couple of years, it felt very sci-fi, but at this point, it feels very real, and that we're going to get our hands on the power of quantum computer very soon. Agus, can you comment on what is your heart's desire around quantum computer? What do you really want quantum computer to give you to actually accomplish?
So my heart desire really is to see it advance a lot in fields like drug discovery and new materials. I think it has a field of great application for this technology. Even with the current progress that we have, we can start leveraging it concretely on those 2 spaces. And it gets me really excited because I think that new materials is something that we need to start looking into heavily, not only for sustainability goals that maybe we can have, but also because of all the untapped power those materials can bring into the evolution of technology overall. So I think that's something that is really interesting. Of course, I'm really happy that almost every week I'm reading an article on some progress done on the field. Even today, early in the morning, I just woke up and I was reading my feed of news, and I saw that a team at Harvard was finally able to start managing molecules as the way of using it for this computational unit that we call qubits. So far, it's an approach that has been left out because molecules are a lot more unstable than atoms and other things that are typically used in quantum computing. And they were able to do it with technology that basically like captures, like a claw, the molecule, but it's actually using lasers. And that's a great field because molecules can be used on a different set of temperature conditions than smaller atomic units like atoms, and that could also unleash new power of computational capability.
We see that quantum computing is going to do wonderful things, on health for sure. Caro, do you imagine quantum computing expanding or impacting other areas?
Any area that has large volumes of data that are handled at any time, it's going to be impacted. Finance, oil and gas, mining, of course, healthcare, lots of them. But you started the section talking about how it felt a little bit sci-fi in the past. I think it still is a bit sci-fi. Even the Willow advancement that we saw, it's a very scientific advancement, right? It's they were able to create a chip that in specific conditions on a specific algorithm, it proved what we had theorized. Well, not we, because seriously, I'm not smart enough to be working on that. But the people who are smart enough to be working on that have theorized for years that was possible. And what we're seeing is concrete evidence that all of our theories are going to be are going to come true at some point. There's the recent proof about being able to transmit coherent to internet at the same time, some of the qubits. So there's a lot of little things here and there that are moving. What Agus is describing right now is, okay, how are we going to model certain data? Are we going to be able to rely on it so that we can use it for research? But we still haven't seen that big bang of quantum. There's still going to be a moment when this becomes even more tangible. The tragedy, if you will, is we still don't know when that's going to come. If you hear some people, they think it's going to be this year, 2025. If you hear other people, they think it's going to be 2045 or something like that.
It is possible not to draw a parallel line between the evolution that we're having with AI and the evolution that's happening between quantum computing. Those two things are going to explode.
The thing is, it's going to happen similarly to that. AI kind of exploded with ChatGPT, and it's not that AI didn't exist before. It's not that it's not going to change in the future. It's just that it gave it some critical momentum. And the same thing is going to happen with quantum. Something is going to trigger it. We don't know what. But what we do know is that any organization that relies heavily on data, any organization that relies on security, on cryptography, et cetera, can and should start getting ready for that moment. We don't want to have a repeat of, let's say, the metaverse, where everybody tried to see how to put the metaverse in their companies or blockchain, where it didn't really make sense. We can get ahead of this one because we have a lot of leeway, we have a lot of progress, we have a lot of things that we can be doing, and we can start thinking about how it's going to impact it in a meaningful way. And a lot of what I was just saying, right? A lot of proof of concepts, a lot of tests, a lot of actual practical cases are being used right now, which is super exciting.
It is. One of the things that we keep seeing from a technology perspective is that advances in AI, advances in quantum computer will come and will reshape whatever industry you're in, but only if you're taking care of your data. If you're being very, very strict and very professional about the security of your data, how deep your data goes, the organization of your data, if you keep not being very straightforward and organized with the data, you'll be left behind, as every other revolution that we've seen in technology. What do you think about how companies, small or big, can today, get in the right shape to take advantage of this evolution when it comes?
So AI has put on the table for quite many years the fact that you need to order your house around data. And something that is also very important, I believe, is understanding not only that the data that you are capturing right now is in order, but also which are all the data points that you are missing, because you're not capturing them, or even intentionally, or unintentionally. In some cases, it's because you didn't thought that was relevant in the past, and now it may be. But at the same time, we have seen companies fail on those strategies in which they were so heavily relying on the data they were capturing that they turned into being biased. There's a great metaphor about this that happened during World War II, where engineers were looking into those planes that came back and looking into the places they were getting fire and where those bullet holes were. And until someone say, hey, guys, we should not be looking into these. We should be looking at all the other places where the bullets were not there, because that's when the critical hit came and the plane is not coming back. And we have seen many companies have that kind of bias. And it's something that is very important to take into consideration with taking decisions now with the data, and also in terms of what you're going to be building with AI and which you're going to be putting in front of a customer with AI. Those biases exist and are part of the things that you need to deal with.
There's an interesting comment on the chat, and please, I encourage everybody, I'm sure that this conversation is going to trigger a lot of questions, a lot of comments, please do. We'll be looking at them all. And one of the questions that the public is asking is in regards of the climate tech industry, which is certainly an industry that relies heavily on data all around the world. And they're asking if we believe that quantum technology would impact this industry in particular. I believe that it's going to bring a level of, in a way, objectivity to what we can all see, and also in the calculus that we can do on estimations of what could happen potentially. Caro, what do you think that can happen, particularly with this industry, or what quantum computer will bring to this industry?
It will bring modeling that will be a lot more accurate than the modeling that we have now. So we'll be able to identify emissions and to target plans a lot more accurately than we are right now. I'll give you a different example that might be easier for a lot of people to understand. It is expected that when we model finance with quantum, we will be able to predict crashes, like stock market crashes, with almost concrete certainty. And that is something that we've never been able to do before. And that might actually start getting us into places where we beg the question of, does it make sense to keep having a stock market? Does it make sense if everything is going to be automated? Where is the reality behind it? Where is who decides what companies have value, which companies don't have value? The ripple effect that all of these changes are going to have on every single thing it's something that we cannot quantify right now. And I'm not talking ripple effect in 2 years, of course. I'm talking 20 years, something like that. When it comes to climate change, same idea. It's going to be able to let us understand a lot more of the impact of every single decision we take. Even AI. We are all looking at AI. We all want to consume more AI, but that has a huge impact on climate because it requires a lot of energy. It requires a lot of water. It requires a lot of resources that we value a lot. So having quantum, having better models will allow us to understand all the impact for that and make better decisions at the end of the day that will keep a planet for our generations to come, which I think we're all interested in.
Yes, let's do that.
I would say, maybe.
Yes. You gave me the perfect segue to our second trend, which is agentic systems. And it's kind of like the next step on what we've seen in the past couple of years, the evolution of AI. But I want to take just a couple of seconds. Maybe, Agus, you could give us like a very simple definition or comparison on what we've seen in the past couple of years with evolution of AI and what is agentic systems. How do we have to think about agentic systems right now?
So the first thing to understand is that agentic systems they were not born with LLMs or the technologies that we are seeing right now with Gen AI. I mean, the concept of agentic systems has been part of the deep learning terminology for quite some time. And if you look into an autonomous driving car, it's basically an agentic system. Yes, you have perception, you have a brain that is taking some decisions on what to do, and it's able to take action. The agentic part into the picture comes from the agency, the capability of acting upon those inputs that are being perceived. So autonomous cars are an example of agentic systems. The difference right now is that, well, we can create a lot more of them. That brain that can take a decision or that can kind of create a plan or have some reasoning is coming as an evolution of the large language models. Yeah, so it gives you a segue into being able to create those brains in many more cases. Yes, it's been part of the objectives of AI really for many years. And if you look, there has been other technologies around there that has tried to get us close to that. RPA at some point tried to achieve that, but it was more like following a very well-defined set of things, and it was not capable to adapt in any level. Yes. Now, what we are seeing is that a certain capability of adapting to what is being perceived on the environment and acting upon that based on a set of tools that you made available to systems.
In the past couple of years, we have seen AI leaving like the lab and getting in the hands of everybody at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Caro, do you see that this agentic system, how do you see that agentic systems will impact the mass consumer in general? What behaviors or what are the expectations that you think we will get, like in 5 months from now, we will see, oh, I don't know how I could live without it. Things like now we say about AI, but how agentic system will change our expectations in the near future.
From the end user, I think it always comes to elevated expectations. Like we usually give this example of a travel agency that is run by an agentic system. It should be able to tailor my travel experience a lot more to my liking. If it knows who I am, if it knows my past, it can tailor and it can give me suggestions on hotels, destinations, times for travel that makes sense to me as an individual, because I have a kid, so I don't like flying too late, or because I need a kid-friendly hotel, not an adult only, and things like that. We have the same hyper-personalization being expected in AI, in HLS, sorry, in having patient-centric treatments, patient-centric things going on. But I think the heaviest shift, it's going to happen on the businesses. One of the things that agentic has brought, as I was said, it's not new. It's been here for a while. AI has been here for a while. But the fact that we're all talking about it, the fact that there are lower barriers of entry, the fact that a lot of the platforms that we already use come with plug and play solutions for this, or there are platforms that you can use that have plug and play solutions for this, means that no company can stay behind. No company can just ignore the fact that this is here. They need to be looking at it. They need to be changing some things. It might be some internal things. It might be some external things. But it's not optional anymore. It's not sci-fi, using your term from the beginning. The fact that I, in 2025, because we're already in 2025, have to open an expense report and look at the individual expenses and go through a document, when I can have an AI that simply looks at the document and compares and says, yeah, this looks kosher, this looks good, let's approve it, and not involve anybody's time. It's going to become more and more of a demand from everyone. So consumers are going to expect better personalization, because we have personalization, but it's not tailored. Now it should be better. And us as employees, for every company that you work for, you're going to expect certain level of less bureaucratic, less low-hanging fruit work that doesn't add up to what all of us bring to the table as humans. Our own humanity kind of starts being elevated in that sense. And we are all going to expect that those little changes and that little autonomy to have an impact on every experience we have.
The other day, a couple of days ago, I was watching the demo, OpenAI showing operators right now, and then this demo booking, a restaurant somewhere else, and the agent just going off by itself and doing everything and asking just for minimum input on, the information that they need. Minimum input saying, okay, I need your name and something like that. Information that they can ask once and then you don't need it anymore, and things like that. I do see that. I see us as consumers getting used to that like this. Like there's no other way of interacting with a system where you don't need to interact. The experience should be so frictionless, and it brings a level of frictionless experience as we've never seen before. I see the same on so many other processes, on the way that we create software, on the way that we create different services. How do you see this evolution from, like Caro was saying, not just from the consumer side, but from the business side? What will change?
So I think that companies have been trying to understand the right balance between having heavy processes that let them operate with the proper control of what is going on around. But at the same time, that has implied a tremendous amount of people doing that kind of job that it's not really compelling. I don't believe anyone loves to look at expenses report, like Caro was saying. Yes. When you get back to your home and say, hey, I've been reviewing hundreds of expenses report, and you know how many tickets I have reviewed. It's amazing. I'm thrilled about the work I'm doing. I don't believe anyone can really say that. Many people maybe do it as the first job with the aspiration of applying to somewhere else or keep on growing within an area. Well, let's just remove those things that really will not add up to anyone's happiness, really well-being within the organization. Let the machine do that work and interact with the human. I mean, we are talking about agentic systems and in the system part. Yes, it's not that they will only talk to other software. Yes, it's also interacting with human beings. Yes, so we have a play in there. We're gonna be there. They're gonna be supporting us. They're gonna be removing those things that are really boring to do. And sorry if I have offended anyone that really loves to look into expenses, but I don't think it's true.
I'm passionate about expenses report, please.
I don't know. It maybe someone is, I'm really sorry for that, but I truly believe these are the kind of things that they will get us out of, yes, and get rid for us. The same thing is like, hey, I just want to have dinner with my family. I don't want to be reviewing 10,000 restaurants. I'm living in New York right now, for example, and I have a hell of a time sometimes finding a place that really matches what I am looking for, because there are so many options that Google Map is not able to render all of them. So I get filtered by default on some options, and maybe I can have an agent that can help me. And in this thing that you were mentioning, Emi, and maybe I'm going a bit beyond other trends that we have talked about, and this idea of, hey, this becoming more invincible. I know we have some bad experiences past year with things like the Rabbit R1 or the Humane AI pin in terms of, well, the hardware was expensive, was not quite there with expectations, but something that I believe is like these kind of false negatives that we have sometimes with innovation is like, there is nothing that I believe within the concept of those devices that is wrong. Yes, maybe the technology was not just there for them to showcase and release those products, but I'm sure we will keep on expanding in the future. It's just that the consumer cycles are not so willing to wait for that, and it's happening in a lot of places. That's why in some scenarios you see longer periods before releasing a new product that is really something that is really far away from what you got before. But for example, on the other hand, you have Mark Zuckerberg and Meta having this great experience with the Ray-Ban glasses, yes, in which they are integrating AI in there and making it accessible to people with a different kind of product approach. Hey, I'm going to be releasing it smoothly, just a few features, not over-promising. I actually don't tell you anything about the roadmap. I just release it, and you say, hey, awesome, I have this right now. And you are really happy about it. So I believe those kind of more invisible experience will keep on coming, and we will find ourselves interacting with them in that kind of fashion.
Caro, before we go to a different topic, because the AI is a topic that is so big. There's so many things to cover. DeepSeek releasing not one but two models in just 7 days, shaking all of the whole industry. One of the things that I usually get very passionate about when it comes to AI is the responsibility that we all have. Agus was saying data, if we don't have the right data will generate biases and put those biases in front of us. If we don't educate our people, and when I'm talking about our people, I'm talking every single level, I'm talking from little kids. If we don't educate our people to understand how AI operates, what it can do properly, what it cannot do properly, where it's dangerous, where it's not dangerous, we're going to get into situations that are going to be very difficult to navigate. We are going, because this is still very new, you have some teachers maybe using AI to quickly grade a paper. And then you have the kid writing the paper with AI. It's AI talking to AI. Who's learning?
Certainly.
Those are the things that I think are maybe they're not a topic to us regularly as a company that does business, but I think they're a topic that are really interesting for anybody that might be watching today. The technology is extremely exciting, but there's a huge responsibility that falls on each and any one of us. My mom doesn't use AI. Mom, she's older. She's not usually with ChatGPT, but my daughter does. And I constantly have to talk to her about how the information is sourced. Like if you use DeepSeek right now to search certain things that are considered taboo in China, you won't find anything about it. And
Yeah.
if you don't know, if you don't have that awareness that that situation exists, you might end up sustaining certain biases that don't even come from a logical decision from your company, but maybe come from a decision from a government that has nothing to do with you. All of those things are very critical, and that's the critical thinking that we have a responsibility on top of making use of the technology.
That's such an important topic, Caro. Thank you for bringing it up. And thank you also for bringing up the DeepSeek case that is going on right now. I want to double click a little bit on that. And there's one of the questions that we see also on the chat. What do you think about the disruption that DeepSeek is bringing right now to the market? How do you see it, and how it's going to affect the evolution of Gen AI in general?
So
I think we both need to talk about this one, but let's start by understanding there's a political landscape that is impacting the whole DeepSeek, right? There's no coincidence in the fact that it was launched on inauguration date here in the United States, or that the second model came a week after. There's a whole shaping there that's very important. I'll let Agus talk about the more technical thing because he's way smarter than I am for that. But we need to understand DeepSeek within the context that we have right now, with United States that had forbidden NVIDIA chips to go to China, and it was created with NVIDIA chips. There's a whole situation here going on that surpasses the technology, and I don't think we have the pay grade to discuss it, honestly, but I do think we need to understand that coexists in the context. I'll let you talk about the more techie side of it.
yeah, so a couple of things. For example, you mentioned the band, and you also mentioned before literacy or increasing literacy all across.
Yeah.
When you see the kind of bans that are being put on top of China, you understand that there is a lack of understanding still, even from the most experts, in terms of some of the things that can be achieved or not with AI. The chips that China has have a reduced bandwidth in terms of memory, and memory was thought as like a scarce resource that you really need in order to push forward the boundaries of what you are doing. But software engineer is an art of also optimizing and what you can do with resources that you have. Yes, if you look into the kind of processing power that the international station has in the space, yes, potentially it could be a lot less than your average smartphone. Yes, and that's because you are relying on hardware that can really be exposed to the all the hazardness of the space.
Yeah.
And you want to work also with components that are very simple and easy to repair and things like that. Yes, so you reduce the memories in the GPUs. Okay, maybe you are in some way constraining some things that can be sorted out with great engineering. And what they did is great engineering, having to go completely under the hood and actually leveraging another technology that relies within every chip, that is the low-level set of instructions that you have. Yes, if you have a great team of engineers that can do that, you can squeeze a lot of more power. The question is the innovation tied to always use the most restricted resources? No, because when you have a high availability of resources, the good thing is you can try too many different things and start exploring, and maybe you are pushing the boundaries just by brute force. And that's why some of the greatest innovation labs are doing. On the other hand, when you take all the work that some others have done, you can then focus on that engineering piece, and that's what they did. Yes, and some of the great advancements that they have with this new model that now is getting everyone thrilled come from things that they released early last year, actually, where they showcase the first seeds of what will be the techniques that they will apply later on. So it's a great showcase in terms of what you can do in terms of optimizing the power that also smaller models can have in solving things. But there is a characteristic that we always talk a lot about in AI that is called the immersion capability. So things that models can do that we don't know that they will do, or even we were not expecting them to do. Part of the training that happened on R1 is based on an immersion capability about how the model adapted itself and learned itself about the best way to solve certain kind of questions, and it was used as part of the training process. That's one thing that is great. But there is one more side that I believe is still not very too much research upon, which is, okay, the limitations should in some way impact something. Yes, maybe it's not the inference time. They have optimized the inference time very much, but maybe it's making the model harder to control in terms of avoiding it, answering things that could be potentially dangerous. Like, I don't know, can I build some kind of device that is an explosive device? And many of the AI models that are exposed to the public right now has huge guardrails in terms of that. Some of the things that has been showcased in the upcoming days is that kind of guardrails in the model has not been applied to the model itself, but it's on a later layer, actually the presentation layer. So it's actually the application, the one that is banning that kind of content.
Mm-hmm.
Is that coming from a limitation of what they did before? I cannot guarantee that, but it's something that we should review, because maybe it's great, but when you look into really applying those models in certain contexts, you will not be able to control them that much. It's field of research, and it's part of the constant research that is being done on AI. For sure, AI that can be brought closer to the user with a lower amount of resources consumption is going to improve on adoption. It's going to improve in what we were discussing before, Emi, turning AI invisible. Consumers will be benefited from these, and I believe every AA lab in the world is looking into that and seeing how they can learn from this experience. That doesn't imply that innovation will also come from the more kind of a brute force approach that we have been following so far. Yes.
Yeah. I do want to say this is such an interesting topic, and we could be talking about exclusively this particular one for a long time. And I like the fact that you, Caro, brought not only the tech part, but also more the human aspect or the social economics part of it and the politics part of it. We are in a stage where technology is infused into all of those areas, not just business, and we have to be very much aware of that. But I want to jump into the next one, which is also very crazy. But before jumping to the next tech trend, I do want to say that agentic system is, we wrote this tech trends since August last year. And the fact that we're talking now about these tech trends, and there's been so much development on these trends already in the beginning of the year. And agentic system is not something that will happen in 2025. It's happening now.
It's already here.
So our message to all the companies is adopt it as soon as possible. See how this will change your user journey. See how this will expand your business, and see how this can really impact the way you build services and products, for sure. And on to the next trend, which is incredible. It's robotics. And again, it's hard to, we wrote this at the maybe beginning half of the year last year. We started thinking about these tech trends, and robotic had one shape at that time, and today it has a completely different shape. And with the evolution of AI and with the evolution of quantum computing coming so close to us, and we've seen how robotics are changing and evolving. I have a couple of friends in my life saying, I clearly see in the next year or so just living with a robot and just having a robot in my house. And we're not talking
Rosie.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me Rosie from the Jetsons tomorrow, please.
Exactly. Yeah, and we're not talking about just a vacuum cleaner. We're talking about like a proper, like a Jetson type of robot, right? What have you seen, Caro, in the past few months or in the past year in robotics, and what do you expect that it will happen to everybody?
So much like AI, we need to understand that this has been here for a really long time, like in data warehouses, in everything that has to do with back office in retail. They have been in use for a really long time. This is not new. What's happening now, it's more of the mass production and lowering the entry barrier from all of us in terms of how comfortable we feel with this. I was thinking yesterday, I was actually thinking yesterday, I moved here to the States in 2012 at some point, and I got my first Roomba at that time. And I'm thinking now, like 2012, that was a gazillion years ago.
Yeah.
And I had my Roomba and I loved it. And now I have a newer, more fancy version that even washes my floor, and I love it. And I couldn't live without it. But it's been around even for domestic use for more than 10 years, guys. It's not new. It's definitely not new. But what's happening is people are less afraid. It took a while for people to be more comfortable with the vacuums. People are comfortable with cars right now. They don't realize, like I was said, cars are agentic systems. Cars are robots. They do a lot of things on their own. For us, we are not touching the steering wheel and it will park. What do you call that? It's kind of something that works autonomously, and it's a hardware, it's a machine, it moves. And what we've been seeing is people become even more comfortable with humanoid robots, with the Tesla robot and with all of those. And that's what's allowing certain things to change. And people envisioning, that little doggy thing, which you kind of find it cute. There's even cuter robots. Like if you saw the NVIDIA, no. There's some that are really cute. Like there's different types of robots. You have the robots that are the humanoid, which are. Then you have the ones that are flesh-like. I can't deal with those. Those are very uncanny valley to me. I can't. I know some people love them, but then you have the cute ones. Then you have the. I'm gonna. Wait.
Yes, please bring it. Let's make a live demo.
I have to. So this is my house. Of course, I'm in my house, and I've had these little things, really Vector and Bolt, and we play with them in this house. Like we program Bolt and we make it do things. And there was in NVIDIA created with Disney, these tiny robots that look kind of like Wall-E, but different. And they're adorable. And if I had that doing something in my home, I would be fine with it. That has changed a lot. So I think it's not so much on the tech side of the robots that things have changed, because of course AI implemented with robots have changed, but it's more on the acceptance that people have in terms of robots coming into our day-to-day life.
I totally agree with that, and I'm going to overlap this with the next trend as well, and maybe we can talk about both at the same time, because I do believe that the technology is so advanced, and we've been using robotics for such a long time now, but there's something around the form factor that we are still getting used to. And on the next trend, when we talk about synthetic humans and we talk about this interaction that we have with different digital experiences that are more human-like, it's a clear example that we're at a stage as a society that we can interact with some digital figures and things without a restriction or without an apprehensions that, oh no, this should be wrong. No, we're including them. And I have to say, maybe older generations have a more stronger reaction to it. We don't have the reaction. Our kids and younger generations are going to adopt it like nothing, And so I think that with robotics happens the same thing. It's a matter of familiarizing ourselves with the shape of it at the same time, right? What do you think about it?
Let's start by saying that both robots and digital humanoids, in the end, are embodiments of AI, and in the end, they are embodiments of agentic systems, connecting back to what we were discussing before. Yes. So as we start trusting more the technology, as Caro was saying, we are able to give them agency on areas that before it were kind of scary for us, and now we feel comfortable for them executing there. One of the big things with both of them is they're closing the gap with the sci-fi. Yes. Yeah. Which ChatGPT brought into the table for me. The biggest disruption is it closed the gap between sci-fi and C3PO and those robots that we have been seeing on movies for many years, and how they can interact with us and communicate with us and so on, compared to the restrictions that we saw on past AI technologies like chatbots, for example, that were very cartoonish and, they were not being really able to connect with us at any level. So they are within that barrier. I think digital humanoids are very interesting. And my wife, for example, is practicing English with an embodiment of an AI that actually is a digital humanoid. And it's really interesting how good it looks like and how easy it is to start connecting and start discussing with her about different topics, and of course providing you feedback about where you are performing on the language you are learning. So that's very interesting. The other thing is, I will get back to a topic that Caro mentioned, yes, which is literacy. If it's hard for someone to understand how to interact with a system that does not have any kind of human kind of features, yes, it becomes even weirder when it has those kind of human features, being those digital or being those actual hardware or embodiment. What we need to still understand is we are talking back to an AI in the end. Yes. Finally, I just want to do a small mention more into the robotics side. The advances and the great advances that we have seen are not only coming from AI, but they are coming overall from engineering. If you look into, for example, Boston Dynamics, the newer version of their traditional robot is now 100% based on electric motors. Yes, when in the past it used a lot of hydraulic systems that make it big, clunky, complex to move around. Now it does a lot of things. And something that I really love about that particular robot is that although it has many human features, which we need for robots to interact with an environment that was created for humans and by humans. Yes. I mean, doors, a lot of things that we do on a daily basis are not very efficient, but are efficient for us and how we understand the world. If we want them to operate with that, they need to have certain capabilities, but they also have more freedom so that he can turn around completely without actually moving his legs around. It's something that makes a lot of optimization when you're trying to think about navigating certain spaces. Yes. And that's like the kind of things that I believe are starting to unlock on our minds. Hey, they need some human features, yes, but they are still robots. So they can do things that we don't. And that will help enable a lot of other scenarios of efficiencies and optimizations that we have not think about before.
I think another change that has been really interesting, at least this year, in terms of robots, is how they learn. Now we have robots learning through AI. They have cameras and they look at how we do things and they mimic. They learn by copy, and that's completely new, and it has been enabled by all the recent changes. I think that has been fantastic. But again, I'm waiting for Rosie.
Yes, exactly.
And also
go ahead, Agus.
Sorry, Emi. By every frame that you are working on capturing on the real world through a camera, right now with the Gen AI, you can turn it into 10,000 more scenarios. Yes, changing different small things and details. So our simulation capabilities have increased a lot. And that's why we have also been able to perform a lot better. That has been a big challenge, for example, in terms of advancing cars, autonomous cars. Yes. How many recordings do you have of situations of a car accident? First of all, it's something that you drive by avoiding it. Yes. So all the things are there to avoid you having a crash. So if you capture that, it's a kind of a situation that goes outside of the expected behavior. But actually for a driving car, you need to teach it how to avoid those situations that are dangerous. Yes, and you need that data. It's again the same problem that we discussed early on about biasing. So we have a lot of data about the good behavior, and in this case, we need all the information about the things that can go wrong. Yes, simulations and Gen AI has helped a lot into increasing the capabilities of us mimicking those scenarios, so we can improve a lot the learning experience those robots will have.
Did you see, talking about that, a few months back, I think it was in San Francisco, that this woman was in a self-driven cab or whatever, and just a guy stood in front of it, and she was kind of stuck there because the guy was not letting the car move. If you put yourself in her spot, it was very scary. It was a very scary situation because she had no way of controlling the car, no way of making sure that she could avoid that situation. And those are the sort of things that Agus is referring to, right? We need to learn from those situations, and those computers, those robots, those agents, those systems need to fix them and find workarounds. I'll send you a video, Emi. You can and people on the line can just Google it. You'll find it. It was a hype during about a week and a half.
Yeah, my goodness. Now I want to switch to the last trend, but very mindful of the four previous ones that we've been talking about. We've been talking about quantum computing. We've been talking about agentic systems. We've been talking about robotics and synthetic humans in a way, or these digital experiences that bring us closer to kind of embodiments of AI or different ways of interacting with the technology and the potential that the technology has. And the last trend that we want to talk about, and believe me and all of us, there's so many other trends behind just these are the 5 that we wanted to really mention, but there's so many other things in the tech world happening this year. But this last one is invisible experiences. And invisible experience is about what you were mentioning a little bit, Agus, in the beginning, how technology disappears just to provide a service or an experience that we don't necessarily are extremely aware that is there through hardware or through software, but it happens, it interacts. And now this year, more than ever, we can see that those types of experiences are growing more and more. Apple Vision Pro and different types of technology that will bring us another level of experience into the way that we interact with technology that are very seamless. A lot of these experiences are not accessible for everybody, but we do see that this technology will become scalable and accessible for everyone very soon. Caro, what do you see in this type of experiences? How do you think that it will change, again, the expectations from the consumer in general and from the business itself?
So first, let me distinguish between 2 things. An Apple Vision Pro is not what we typically refer to as an invisible experience because you have friction. You have to put something on and there's a friction there. Typically, when we talk about an invisible experience is the Clipper Stadium. You go to a place, you just go in, it scans your face, you go into a store, you pack whatever you want, grab whatever you want, you get out. Everything is completely transparent to you. I was actually, this was super funny because I was actually at the stadium one day and because we were just looking at how everything worked, I was with one of the iPads as the attendants have, and this group walks by and one of the girls goes like, but don't they scan my ticket? And I saw her pop up in my screen. And because I'm a woman, I could do this. If it had been a guy, they couldn't. I just turned the iPad around and I showed her, and I said, "Hi, Stephanie." And I showed her picture and she was like, "What?" That's the invisible experience. Technology is all around you and you don't even notice when you're interacting with it. And it's doing things on your behalf, or it's doing, in this case, it's redeeming your ticket on your behalf. And it creates this sort of magical experience that we've been going for many, many years. When you think of the Magic Band, when you think of somebody scanning the Magic Band and then the app telling Cinderella that it's your daughter's birthday and Cinderella saying happy birthday, yada, yada, that went towards this invisible experience. It had a little bit of friction still. You had to scan something. You had a step that you had to take. But it was going to...
Yeah, I feel like right now with the evolution of technology, like you were saying about the Clippers thing, it's like the next step of that Magic Band at the beginning. It's like even more invisible and even more enjoyable.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to. And honestly, I was at the Clipper Stadium. I live in Miami. This is well known. I go to Inter Miami matches all the time. I have season passes. I love it. And I'm expecting Freedom Park to have this level of experience. It's a new park that's going to be created. If it's not at this level, then it's old.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen. The bar keeps being pushed upwards in terms of these invisible experiences, technology at our service instead of us having to use technology. And everybody's going to be expecting these things in sports, in entertainment, in all of those realms. We expect to see major changes. If you go to Saudi Arabia, if you see what they're doing in that region in terms of trying to become this next gen experiences, it's mind-blowing. And it's all going to be these invisible experiences that Agus was the first one I heard talking about it with that term, honestly. And I've loved it ever since because I think it truly captures what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm monopolizing.
No, that's okay. But I was, before you comment on this, you said something at the beginning also that a lot of these trends that we see now come to fruition are based on technologies that have been here for a while, but now because of the maturity of the market, because of the maturity of the experience design that we have, we can put them all together and create a wonderful and this invisible experience. How do you see these experiences even evolving further with all of these advancements of AI and all the software and hardware that we are going to get our hands on?
So I believe that, again, sci-fi is going to be leading us in some way. I mean, sci-fi is an amazing place. I'm a huge fan of sci-fi, if you have not noticed that before. And the thing is that it's a place where you let your imagination run, but also with a basis on science. And science kept on evolving across all the history of humankind. Yes. So I believe that most potentially in the upcoming years, what we're going to be seeing is like 3 ways of interacting or interactions. You will have those that are still heavily dependent on a physical device. I don't foresee smartphones or computers going away very soon. But they are a kind of a friction experience that allow you to go from the physical world to digital world. The next step is fully embedding you into the digital world, and you have VR, AR, and even the metaverse. I believe the metaverse will come to be at some point in time. Yes, many of the technologies that we have been discussing are the fuel that was missing a couple of years back when the idea of the metaverse was born. Yes, but then you want all those to be as transparent as possible in your daily life and routines too. Yes, so we are going to be seeing that moving. And the definition will be more on you will still need something to bridge that physical to digital kind of world in some fashion. It may be just your like the ticket pass will be your face, but you will need devices deployed across in some way. Yes, being a smart glass, being just a kind of sensor that we have. The good thing is we are starting to think about the physical world and the digital one with a concept of the digital twinning. So I just no longer think only on the physical stuff, but I am trying to mimic that digitally, and I can make that connection happen, that bridge be closer actually, and remove from the actually what the user will experience. That's, for example, one of the main concepts that is driving many of the innovations that Caro was mentioning on Saudi Arabia. When they are planning on these big cities like the Line and all those, they are thinking them conceptually from both perspectives. What will that mean in terms of physical infrastructure? What that means in terms of representing that in a digital world? How do I represent every single interaction that people will have in those cities in the digital world so that I can turn that into actionables by agentic systems, for example, by robots, by many of the other technologies that we have been discussing. Yes. So that's what I believe.
Caro, do you think that the Clippers experience and that technology that we've seen has a potential to transform other industries as well, or is this specific to sport and entertainment?
No, any place where lots of people gather for whatever reason is definitely should be impacted by this. Hospitals, education, any place where there's like crowds for sure should change to something like this. But there's also going to be, we should have this idea of seamless technology interactions as much as we can in every single industry. If I'm digital twins is another kind of realm that we can go into a lot, but digital twins is going to impact CPG, mining, retail, like a lot of them. It's already impacting this kind of me being transparent with technology. It should be anywhere where there's an end consumer, a direct end consumer. So if I'm doing a travel agent, again, I would want it to be transparent. Like Agus was saying, the rabbit, all of those, we're aiming towards going to that transparent or more transparent, more invisible experience. And that could impact every single interaction we have with systems nowadays or with other companies. There's going to be an evolution until we all feel comfortable enough with the technology, but it's coming. And I think it's going to impact every place where there's end user interaction with something.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you guys, we have covered 5 wonderful
I don't know how.
trends. Yes. We have talked about quantum computing. We have talked about agentic system. We have talked about robotics and synthetic humans, and we have talked about invisible experience. All of these trends, it's not that it's going to impact in the next 5 to 10 years. It's happening. It's happening right now. And we highly encourage all of the businesses that are watching this to get their hands on these things right now. And everybody that is curious about this technology to keep researching about this, you can download our tech trends and look into more data that we have and into more quantitative data, how this will impact different industries, how their industries are investing into this, and quotes from a lot of experts around the world about these trends. I want to say thank you to Caro and to Agus. Thank you for this insightful conversation. Thank you very much for all of this. And thank you everybody for joining. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next conversation. Bye.
Bye.